This is Kugan Cassius for IFLTV. Delighted to be joined by Gareth A.Davies on this Monday night.
Indeed. How are you?
I'm all right. How are you, Gareth?
Very good. Really busy. Writing a Ring magazine piece on Ben and Eubank. About to write up a big interview from last week when we spent time with Derek Chisora. Had a bit of time with Showtime Sean Porter today. That was brilliant. Looking forward to going up to Manchester for Derek Chisora and Otto Valley in what is going to be a really busy month.
Absolutely. And we're only on the 3rd of February, so may it continue.
Indeed, indeed. No, it's going to be a really busy month. And then a little schlep down to Bournemouth in early March after the Feb 22 card. Nick Ball on March the 15th. I mean, there's so much going on right now. And we're even told that there's talks have been underway for Anthony Joshua to fight Martin Bakole in Africa this year. Do you believe that?
I'm not sure.
I don't. I think what it is, I think Billy Nelson and Martin Bakole would love that fight, and Ben Shalom would love that fight. And I think it would be a great extravaganza at the stadium in the People's Republic of Congo. But I had a dig around today and spoke to some people involved with Anthony Joshua, and they said there haven't been any talks yet. So I think there's a sense of them wanting that fight to happen. It's maybe been under discussion a little bit. It
Mm.
might have gone past or across the desk of people, the world's most influential matchmakers, like a Turkey Al Sheikh, who might have said, "Oh yeah, I quite like the sound of that." But I'm hearing that that fight isn't made and it isn't signed.
Okay.
I stand to be corrected, but I'm hearing it's not.
While we're talking about Martin Bakole, and it's something I spoke to actually Sam Jones about the other day, who's obviously got his back and forths with Billy Nelson, etc. And I did say I do think over recent years, I do think Martin Bakole has been, if there was one avoided heavyweight in the division, it has been Martin Bakole. Um, he seems to be at a point of his career now where we're going to know exactly whether Martin Bakole is kind of the real deal or not, um, because of his situation fighting for an IBF eliminator in May, and then potentially going on obviously to fight for that title. I watched the clip that Adi Oladipo actually put out on his social media recently, and he asked a question like, "Are we in kind of in danger of overhyping Bakole?" And I hadn't really thought about it before because I do think Bakole kind of gives everyone in the division problems, but he did ask the question: Are we kind of setting Bakole up for a fall with how much people are now hyping up Martin Bakole's?
Well, look, Ring Magazine rankings have him at 7, and above Anthony Joshua at 8. And they've got the champion, sorry, who they have as Alexander Usyk, and then they go 1 to 10 after that. Fury 1, Dubois 2. These are the challengers. Joseph Parker 3, Zhang 4, Kabayel 5, Bakole 6, Joshua 7, Hergovich 8, Wardley 9, and Ajagba 10. That's not a bad list. That's not, a lot of very knowledgeable people ascribe to that rankings panel. I think Bakole's in the right place there. I think you'd make him favourite against Anthony Joshua right now. Um, his performance against Jared Anderson showed a lot. He's come on late. He's not old. What is he, 32?
I'm not actually sure, to be honest, the specific age of Bakole, but we can run with 32.
Martin Bakole is 31. He's 32 in June.
Okay.
Um, Look, he's a very dangerous fighter, and he handled Jared Anderson very easily, and he beat him up. And it was a very, very formidable. And being there live and watching it live, it was very, very impressive. And I think talking about where he matches up, I think he matches against any of those guys above him. I mean, you imagine him stepping in against Zhilei Zhang or Daniel Dubois. What an exciting prospect that is. He deserves, if he gets the win against a Jagba who is lower than him in the rankings, he deserves to be in the picture for a title shot in the next year. There's no question about it.
Yeah, I'm not getting too much like carried away with the rankings. We know the rankings in each governing body are subjective, so I'm not kind of looking at the rankings going, oh well, look, he's 3 or 4 places better place than a Jagba, etc., etc. I was just asking because I think that Martin Bakole generally does give every single heavyweight in the division a problem. I've just, like I said to you, I'm just going on from what Adi Oladipo said about.
I don't think we're overhyping him. He's taken a long time to
Yeah,
marinate.
I don't think we are. Listen, I don't think you are. I just, yeah, it's just a question because it's a.
He could be anyone in the division above him. He is capable of beating anyone in the division above him. If you say there's
What, even Alexander Usyk,
he is capable of beating any of them.
including Usyk.
Any of them. On his night, he could beat any of them. He's got the firepower, he's got the self-belief, he's got the toughness to go in there and do it. Whether he would beat Alexander Usyk, I'd make Alexander Usyk the favourite. Fury's retired at the moment. That's a tough fight for Fury. I'd make Daniel Dubois the favourite. Parker against Bakole is a very even contest. Zhilei Zhang and Bakole is a slobber knocker. Kabayel, he might beat him. Joshua, he might beat him. So he has the opportunity as the guy who's least favoured in the division, probably. In terms promotionally, I think he's got massive opportunities in the next year and a half.
Listen, I agree with half of what you said there. Where I'd counter with that is that you've listed 7 opponents there that
Yeah,
probably hasn't fought yet. Yeah.
yeah.
So we don't know what would happen in there. I'm just saying this year, I want to see if Bakole beats the Jagbar, Bakole to fight not even one of the top 7 people you mentioned there. I'm talking about one of the top 3 or 4 people you mentioned there, to see whether what we think, as in me and you think about Bakole, is actually true. I want to see that. I don't think there's anything wrong in saying that.
I just think he feels like he's been around longer than he has. He's still a very young fighter. He fits into the Joseph Parker category for me of a guy that still can make improvements, belongs to that younger group of fighters who's not weather worn in the heavyweight division. And he's one of those guys for whom timing always matters. He's one of those guys for whom his opportunity to win a world title and to become a hero in the Congo, which he became after beating Jared Anderson, is all about being ready at the right time.
I think when you look at the list of people over the last 4 years that have had world title shots, I think, like I said, I'd like to have seen Bakole at some point in there with these. I do think
Yeah.
he belongs somewhere in there. I just want to see it happen this year. So he's got a job to do against the Jagbar in May in New York, but I want to see it kind of happen now, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it does. But look, we are 16 months into the reorganization and rejiggling of the heavyweight division under mainly the auspices of Saudi Arabia and Turkey Al Sheikh and Frank and Eddie and Spencer Brown and George. It's mainly those guys involved in organizing the way the heavyweight division goes right now. Bakole will get his time. He will get his time. He just needs to do a number on a Jegba, and he's sitting there ready to fill the gap if it doesn't work through. If Tyson Fury stays retired, if Anthony Joshua, as I say, I don't think Anthony Joshua is going to fight him this year, but they might be trying to just speak that out there into the ether so that if Joshua does want a big African fight and it does satisfy his needs, they might end up getting him signing on the dotted line.
I'm glad Ben Shalom is pushing Bakole, because previous to that, really, the only person that was pushing Bakole was Billy Nelson, which Billy Nelson's been doing for the last however many years. As
Yeah.
promotionally, I'm glad there's a voice behind Bakole to actually say, to push him to the forefront of not me and you, but to the outside public. Um, I'm, I'm really interested to see exactly, like I said, I just want him to get through the Jaguar fight, and then right after that, let's see what happens. However that works out.
Well, there are conflicting reports about his sparring sessions, and Billy is a fantastically antagonistic mouthpiece for Bakole. Speaks very well for him. But Bakole's not a big talker, if you recall. Really, doesn't go out there and make headlines and so on. And I think they did that very cleverly on Saturday night. And they've got Ben Shalom behind him, kind of trumpeting those things about him. There's no doubt that he's very talented and very dangerous. That, like you say, you have reservations about how he performed against someone like Usyk, who's very tricky and a very skilled operator in there. But when it's a shootout, like a Daniel Dubois or someone like that, Bakole's going to be very dangerous. And it might be Daniel Dubois who he ends up facing in the ring this year, and it may be him, and it'll be a massive showdown.
I'd love to see it. I'd love to see
No,
it.
because it's a fight that's easy to sell.
But it's not about having reservations about him fighting someone like Alexander Usyk. You'd have reservations about any fighter currently out there fighting Alexander Usyk currently. He's clearly sitting at the top of this heavyweight tree in the world. I just want to see Bakole get his actual opportunity. Like,
He will at some point. It just requires patience, and he'll get there.
right, let's move on from heavyweights. Conor BENN-EUBANK. We saw a few words from Conor Benn at the Matchroom show last Friday night. This is going to come round very quickly. We're already in February. This is going to sell out. This is going to be the most talked about fight for quite some time. It's 2.5 years in the making when the fight happens. You excited for it?
Yeah, 11 weeks away. I'd like to see them being a bit more visible, selling the fight a little bit more. I'm looking forward to the press conferences. It's going to be fireworks.
Yeah.
I still think it's a very hard fight for both of them. I still feel that Chris Eubank Jr. is the marginal favourite going into it. I think Conor Benn will be dangerous early. I see Chris Eubank Sr. has come out and said the fight isn't going to happen. I think he's concerned again about that rehydration clause, Kugan. The danger is that it gets derailed by those kind of comments. I don't think it will do. I think there's too much money on the line. I'd like to have had a press conference by now. I don't know why there's such a delay. Maybe they're going to wait till after Feb 22 to have the press conference. I haven't heard when it's going to be, whether it's going to be this week or next week. Do you know more than I on it?
Sorry, I can assure you it's not this week.
Yeah, and probably not even next week then, in that case.
I mean, Matchroom obviously have a show with Catrell and Barboza next weekend. I doubt it will be next week, but I don't know about next week. I just know it's not this week.
Well, it's a fight you've got to be excited about. If you know anything about British boxing and the two BENN-EUBANK fights or Eubank-Ben fights, it captured the nation, it captured public imagination, and extraordinarily, the two sons are in some ways mirror images of their father. And in this one, because Conor Benn's so vocal and will put himself out there and get in the face and almost spit it, not spit literally, but spit in the face of his rival, Eubank can sit back and play the cool cat in this promotion while Ben explodes on him. And I think that's the way the fight will go. And I think we'll see Ben dangerous early. And I think we'll see Eubank trying to show and prove that he is definitely the bigger man with the greater experience, which is what he is. So it's a fascinating layout for this fight. And like you say, I agree with you. I think There'll be 60,000 at Spurs by the time it comes around. There'll be big pay-per-view numbers on this, and I think it'll be a riveting success. Whether the fight actually delivers what we want is yet to be seen, but I know Conor Benn will give everything when he steps into that ring.
I can't see this fight not delivering what we're expecting. How it plays out is yet to see. In terms of the build-up, I mean, we've seen a few people try to push Chris Eubank Jr. I mean, uh, a cat could try to push Conor Benn and he's going to react. That's different, right? Because he's that kind of temperament. But with Chris Eubank, we've seen it in kind of not recent years, more so a little bit from the Liam Smith double fight. But even before that, we saw fighters like Spike O'Sullivan, just a few people that kind of Chris had been in the ring with, and we saw little reactions. I think we'll see more side of how personal and devastating to lose this fight. We're going to see more aspects of Junior in this.
Well, look, they're going to be paid very well, and we have to thank Turkey Al Sheikh for getting this fight over the line when they were both going sideways on it and talking about 55% or 45%, who was the A side, who was not. They got caught up in the old school of boxing politics and wrangling. They're both being really well paid for it. They'll both give everything they've got. Like you say, it's just you know it'll garner headlines. You know that it'll be embraced by the public because of the historicity it's got in British boxing from the 35 years past. And to be a part of it is going to be brilliant. I don't buy those saying that, oh, it doesn't mean anything. It means an awful lot. When you've got a rivalry like this, when you've got a grudge like this, when you've got a feud like this, it garners views, it garners interest because there's a lot at stake for both men. Maybe more so for Chris Eubank than there is for Conor Benn, because if Eubank dominates him and is too big for him, people will just say, oh, I told you so. But if Eubank loses to Benn, he really is finished, probably as a boxer, finished.
In terms of that, possibly, but I don't believe it. I think it will mean equally or be as equally devastating, probably more so mentally than kind of the bigger picture. But
Yeah,
uh,
but Benn can go back down to welterweight where he actually belongs. Eubank is definitely a much bigger
in
man
terms of that,
naturally.
okay, but just for these two, it will be literally
Oh, in
like,
family terms,
yeah.
it's life changing. Of course, it is. Yeah, because they're going to put it all out there in the build up. They will refuse to buckle. They will refuse to give up the family name. It could be a very very brutal fight. Brutal.
Not long to find out, Gareth. We spoke about Mr. Hearn and his comments are kind of just moving away from that. Just his comments on a new etc. He made a couple of reactions to what he previously said. I think he's come back on the whole Inoue should be taken out of the pound for pound.
Well, after I called him deluded.
Well, he said it for effect. He said it for effect, etc., which we kind of knew anyway. But he stands by what he said regarding Inoue's resume. I spoke to Nonito Donaire actually 2 days ago, and surprisingly or not, Donaire actually kind of agreed with Hearn, but he kind of sees why people question Inoue's resume, and it's quite a little bit mad considering that Inoue has fought Donaire twice, but he kind of sees different points of Inoue's career at different weights where he could have fought X, Y, Z, where he didn't, and he can understand why people are questioning his resume.
Listen, Eddie was just fighting for his man Akhmadaliev. Wants to jockey him into position. Everybody's quite cozy in the sport right now, and he saw an opening there and he went for it. And I don't blame him for doing so. But to denigrate Naoya Inoue, who's a modern great, just seemed a little bit off kilter for me. That's the reason why I called him deluded, saying get him out of the pound for pound list, just because he didn't want to fight Akhmadaliev. But it doesn't surprise me that Eddie's come back round. I mean, Naoya Inoue could end up facing Nick Ball. I think that's one of the favoured fights of Turkey this year. My view is it should happen in Japan rather than in Riyadh, but we shall see on that one. I think Naoya Inoue He's unmissable when he fights. He is just so brilliant. He's like a he's like a Beterbiev. He's a flying missile. He's incredible, and he's got the ability to bring 55,000 people into an arena in Japan to watch him. That is extraordinary. That's as big as our heavyweights. We haven't got anyone below the heavyweight division apart from this event with Ben and Eubank, which is what they will do 60,000 in my view. At least, well, they'll do numbers like that. That's what will make this very special. We will see once the tickets go on sale and once this is announced officially. Well, it is announced officially. Once they have a press conference and the seats go on sale, we will see just how big that is. 50,000 people in a stadium is extraordinary. And that's what Naoya Inoue is able to do time and again in Japan, sell out massive arenas.
Gareth, I'm in a massive agreement with you over Inoue, and I don't agree with any of Eddie Hearn's comments regarding that. If you're going to break,
finally, we both agree on something that Eddie Hearn doesn't agree with. So it's a double. We've got a doubling up there against Eddie Hearn. So hammer it home when you see him next time, yeah?
I'm going to see him this week. So basically, we're in agreement that Eddie Hearn sometimes talks a load of bollocks, right? So, I mean, look, when I spoke...
Eddie Hearn sometimes talks a load of bollocks.
Yeah, absolutely he does. But that's why we love him as well. So...
I don't think he talks a load of bollocks that often.
He does.
He's very good at selling his fighters and moving them into the right position. But I don't think it's a load of bollocks. I think that was... I've rarely heard him say something as off-kilter as that with Naoya Inoue. He clearly, behind the scenes, was getting the pushback on Akhmadaliev on...
I don't blame him. That's his fighter, and I don't blame him.
Exactly. And that's why he was doing it.
I don't blame him for even saying anything as wild as Inoue should be taken out of the pound-for-pound thing. But Eddie Hearn's job in life is to talk bollocks. And like I said, some things he says, which is fair enough, but he does, and it's all for the benefit of his fighter or a show that he's promoting or something the Zone are doing or Matchroom are doing. We've seen it over the years, which is fine. I have no problem with any promoter, so to speak, talking bollocks. It's their job.
Well, it's not their job to talk bollocks. It's their job to make as much money as they can for their fighters and keep them in contention.
You want to play role Hearn or something? What's going on? Why are you...
I think Eddie Hearn is a master of promotion.
Yeah, I'm not saying he's not. I'm just saying.
I think you should stop. I think you should stop denigrating Eddie Hearn on this interview.
No, I'm going to keep.
I think you're starting to punch below the belt a little bit. I'm going to give you a warning that you're punching below the belt a little bit too much tonight. No,
and you know what? When I see him this week,
Parsons his favourite now, not you.
I don't know. You'd have to ask whoever else that is. He favourite?
What do you think though? Do you think Parsons has become his new favourite?
Parsons could be my son. If I had a child at 21, Parsons could be my son.
It's funny you say that because a lot of people thought for a long time that I was your dad as well, if you recall.
Yeah, then they hear these views you're coming out of now and thinking absolutely not. Parsons doing his thing, living the dream at 21. I didn't start.
Yeah, you had to graft a bit more than Parsons, didn't you?
It's not about that, but I rate what Parsons is doing.
Are you sensitive about how well he's doing or not?
Why would I be? It's like, are you sensitive about other journalists I can name in your game?
No, I'm just teasing. I'm teasing you.
Don't start, Gareth. You're in the top 5 pound-for-pound journalists in the UK, and you're 5th. So
that's fine by you. I don't have a pound-for-pound list of best journalists. On that note, I'm done with this interview.
Hey,
I have got to go in 2 minutes.
All right, you can go.
I've got a delivery. I've got to pick up.
Where we was then? To be honest, no.
About Eddie Hearn and Naoya Inoue, and he retracted.
Yeah, no, I was speaking to Hearn, and I spoke to him the other day, and I said that he was kind of wild for his comments about the pound for pound list. He said he didn't really mean them, etc., etc. But yeah, just a quick one before you go, Gareth. Crawford, CANELO, obviously reported the other day. I saw it on Ring Magazine. It was reported from someone else, I think, off the back of that. But he's due to take place now, September. I mean, talk about fantasy fights. I mean, CANELO Crawford, it's generally one of them. And I put, just for reference, actually, I'm going to ask you, it's the last question I want to ask you. I still put Terence Crawford at the top of my pound for pound list.
Well, right now, I think Alexander Usyk for me is pound for pound number one.
He's two for me. Terence Crawford's number one for me.
Yeah, and Noya Nui and Terence Crawford fight over the 2 and 3 spots. Beterbiev is 4, and I've got Bivol at 5, I think. Canelo is there about 5 or 6 in my view.
So you still put Bivol, obviously holds a win over Canelo. You put him for that reason above Canelo, yeah?
I just think his body of work's extraordinary and his abilities are incredible. And you look at his performance against Beterbiev, you could cut that fight so many close rounds. If Bivol beats Beterbiev in the second fight, he probably goes to 4 in the pound for pound, I think. So my final answer is Crawford and Canelo is an amazing contest. I think Crawford is capable of beating Canelo on points. It's a fight for the ages. He's obviously stepping up incredibly from his career, from lightweight all the way to super middleweight to fight Canelo. But he's shown, and I was with Showtime Sean Porter today chatting about it, and obviously Porter, his career ended with a stoppage by Crawford over him, and he just said he's just incredible. And remember Porter's got a victory in the amateurs over Usyk when USA fought Ukraine. That's what a weird sport we inhabit.
I don't know that. Yeah, I know that.
Yeah, it's a weird. Crawford. I spoke to Porter about it today. A four-round win against in the amateurs. I think it was at middleweight against a gangly Alexander Usyk back in 2007 or 2008, I think it was. But look, Usyk was a different man now, and he's become the heavyweight of the era. Yeah, I think it's an amazing fight. It'll be an incredible occasion in Las Vegas. I'm sure the undercard will be stacked. I think Crawford's capable of beating Canelo on work rate, but my word, it's going to be difficult for him. But I just think he's capable. He's so good. He's
because of the weight?
Yeah, because of the weight. Yeah. But he's capable of winning. It's going to be a great occasion.
I hope it happens. It's like I said, it's a fantasy fight in boxing for me. So let's just run through our pound for pound top 5, yeah? So I'll go first. I still put Crawford at number 1. You put Usyk at 1, yeah?
Yeah.
I put Usyk at 2.
I put Inouye at 2.
I put Inouye at 3.
I put Crawford at 3.
I put... Ooh.
I got Beterbiev at 4. Bivol at 5 and Canelo at 6.
So I put Beterbiev at 4, same as you, but I put Canelo at 5, and I still put Bivol behind him.
Okay. Well, there you go. I'm going to see him. I've got to go. I'm sorry to love you and leave you. I've got to go.
Bosh. I can't say that. Sorry, Gareth.
No, don't say Bosh. Just say Bosh.
Gareth, it's been a pleasure.
It's always a pleasure, Cougs. I'll see you in Manchester this week, yeah?
Yeah, absolutely. See you then, mate.
Cheers, buddy.